we've got someone who's more expert than us in this, or at least has looked into it more than we have.
Yeah.
He's an adjunct professor.
That's right.
In the field of AI.
An honorary
which is
doctor.
why-
Well, because I finished my last radio gig in 2013, and what I've been doing since then is I pretty much full-time MC conferences and events, or give keynote speeches at conferences and events. And with my nerdy maths background, those things tend to skew a bit techie. So I've been talking about AI and the potential it has since there was a big AI explosion in around 2016. This is pre-GPTs and large language models. And you might have heard when they beat the world's best Go player, that Asian board game, and they created an algorithm, these people called DeepMind, created an algorithm that they just showed it the rules of chess. Didn't get it to practice with any humans, didn't load up any previous games, no theory, just these are the rules, try and do this. And this algorithm went off and played 5 million games of chess against itself in 4 hours and went from being told the rules to being better not just than any human players, better than any chess engine humans have ever built.
Right.
So that algorithm was remarkably powerful.
and in like half an afternoon.
Yeah, 4 hours. It went to better than any human will ever play. Better
From
than
not knowing the rules
just being shown
to being better
having
than...
never played a game before,
Yeah,
right? And so that algorithm by a group called DeepMind, and last year they won the Nobel Prize for Medicine because they turned that algorithm onto designing proteins and potential drug structures, and it's revolutionised. That was the big sort of AI awakening after this long winter. Your GPTs and large language models come around a few years later, and that's the thing that everyone's talking about now. So I sort of got that 5 or 6 year head start. I didn't just one day go, gee, ChatGPT's important, I'd better start taught. I was sort of watching the run into that. So I'm an adjunct social expert in all that sort of stuff. So hit me.
Well, I mean, okay. So firstly, I absolutely have read a bunch of stuff about the medical implications and how obviously scenarios being able to run in all these different ways in a medical sense to test a drug or whatever is so much more efficient and than what we can do, just in a human sense.
And even designing individual medicines. They're already seeing cases where someone's got an obscure condition, you sample them individually genetically and come up with...
And you can develop something that's specifically for them.
A medicine. Because even
sense.
our most efficient these days, 10 people have a condition, they all take the same medicine, some are cured, some nothing happens, some partial. That's because things are remarkably personal and depending on your own genetic makeup. There's not prostate cancer, there's 13 different families of prostate cancer. Within those, there's subfamilies, and it depends if you've got a certain gene and that sort of... So personalised medicine is something that this wave of AI is going to bring us a lot closer to, and that in a lot of areas of health just changes the game.
I was listening to an author who's just written a book on AI. She did a podcast last week, and she was hanging out with like Peter Thiel and all these like Silicon Valley guys. And the thing that she was saying, the overwhelming, what they are backing is a sense that AI is the silver bullet. Like it will solve all our problems. And she said, but when you talk to them about the short-term impacts, like environmental, this kind of stuff, what do you worry about that? And like, we choose not to look at that because we think if we can get over this hump, it's going to fix everything. We can ruin the environment in order to find out
that's
how
right.
to fix
But that's
the
what it
environment.
feels like at the moment is that they're betting on the idea that we can keep burning all this sort of stuff in the hope that what we're developing will end up being the solution to that.
Yeah.
How do you think about that point?
Yeah, so I should say to sort of cover all of this conversation, I'm on the spectrum of things, fairly bullish about the positive sides. I absolutely acknowledge the vast bulk of the potential negative sides that people talk about. And for most people, it is just a balancing act between those two. A lot of the major negatives, the tendency of these things to hallucinate and give you an answer that they're confident in that's just not accurate. Sometimes that's quite funny. If that's to do with, medical or landing a plane or whatever, not so great. And we need to still have our mind on that. They're getting less and less, but that's certainly an issue. Misinformation, disinformation, deepfakes, massive. And unfortunately, that genie's out of the bottle, and it's really hard to work out what you put around it.
Well, it's happened already with an American senator, that people receiving phone calls from this senator in her voice And
People were getting calls from Biden saying, "Don't vote on this day, vote on another day," which was the wrong day. Favorite example of that of mine. There's an engineering firm called Arup. There's a finance dude in Arup, and he gets a message going, "Can you put a large amount of money into this bank account? We haven't done it before. We've got a big deal coming through." Does the right thing and goes, "Not comfortable with that. I would need senior authorization." Understand? We'll organise a Zoom call. Hops on the Zoom call with a couple of senior executives from the organisation who say it's all good, it's a one-off transaction, we need to do it right now. Done. Bing. Deepfake avatars being voiced by the cyber criminals, 25 million euros out the back door, off we go. And there's no guarantee that that sort of stuff isn't going to keep happening. And the environmental one's a big one. The amount of power that's needed to run the data centres, and at the moment to make a newer model, you just need to get bigger, and the amount of water to keep them cool. Kate Crawford, who I think you've done a philosophy with her, said that an Aussie AI expert, her best analogy is every time you do an individual search on ChatGPT, you're taking half a litre of fresh water and just pouring it out on a hot concrete in front of you.
Well, the good news is we have heaps of fresh water, so there's nothing to worry about.
No, I mean, if we can design systems to make that work, like everything else in the move to renewables. The technology's already there to do it. You just need the political will. They estimate if we don't, by 2030, 8% of all of America's mainland power appetite will go just to powering data servers and AI systems. So that's an issue, but one we can overcome if we choose to.
One of the things that you mentioned was this idea of hallucinations, but also I've read theories around the idea of that AI feeding on itself is producing worse and worse information because information's out there and then it's sucking up its own information to be so the bad information, it's eating its own shit in a way that is making it worse. Is that a thing that is real?
So at the moment, these sets are trained on data. The way you train a large language model is you just feed it millions of books, scientific articles, etc. And the algorithm, it's such a simple concept. Just eating all this language, you just try and work out the next word in the pattern, right? So the example I give whenever I'm talking to people is if you ran around over the internet just eating every book you saw, every website, and you noticed the phrase, the capital city of Australia is. Now, there are some documents out there where the next word in that phrase is Sydney. There are fewer, but some where the next word in that phrase is Melbourne. There are no documents out there where the next word in that phrase is Perth. And when I talk in Perth, of course, at that stage of my talk, I say the word Hobart. Because
you want to get paid.
I'm not an idiot. The vast bulk of documents, the next
ChatGPT, where do Perth have?
and the next word in that phrase on the vast bulk of documents is Canberra. Yeah. So if you ask ChatGPT or Llama or Claude, hey, what's the capital city of Australia? It will answer with great confidence, Canberra. And the data it's been trained on is sufficiently accurate that they're going to nail that. You can ask these things really basic logic questions, and if they haven't seen one like that before, they get it spectacularly. I've got a 5-litre jug and a 2-litre jug. How do I measure out 3 litres of water? We'll just pour the 5.
That's in Die Hard with a Vengeance. I know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Pour the 5 into the 2, and there you go. Yeah. According to ChatGPT, 11-step process that ends up with now the 2-litre bottle has 3 litres of water in it. So it makes no sense at all, right?
It feels like that at the moment. Like just even as simple as a Google search has become worse rather than better.
Oh, when they're good, they're amazing. You just have to be careful with certain things. If I'm writing in conjunction with these things, any fact that's quoted, I say, just give me a reputable source, and you check them. So at the moment, the model is the only way to get a next model is just bigger and more data, and we're in some ways starting to run out of data to feed these things. Harvard's coming up with a new library that's far less Anglo and all that and nice and clean. But the challenge becomes if you let these things either feed on themselves or create their own synthetic data to train their models, will it work or not? In certain situations, it's completely fine. In others, we do have to be careful. But when that DeepSeek dropped earlier this year, the Chinese model, it seemed to run on a massively smaller amount of data. So a lot of people think going forward, you won't need 10 times the data set and input to build the next model. We'll get better and better at doing it.
Everyone relax!